Honestly, who really expected a turnover like that? A complete 180 from the Pittsburgh Steelers offense in the first game after the firing of Matt Canada. The Pittsburgh Steelers hit over 400 yards in total offense, time of possession over 37 minutes, and in my opinion, 4 quarters of actual offensive football. And I get it, 16 points, 16-10. That's not the margin of victory that we were expecting. But for a first game without Matt Canada and having a new offensive coordinator and a new play caller, I couldn't be happier with what happened. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers have made the first right steps. There was a lot of good in this game. There was a little bit of bad. We're going to go through it. But this game was won because of the offensive coordinator and the play caller and the absence of Matt Canada. Let's break it down. Let's get into it. Let's start off first with the first play of the game. And the theme of this play is tendencies. So what was one of the biggest tendencies that the Steelers didn't have, which was targeting the center of the field, the middle of the field with their tight ends or anybody in particular, but the middle of the field had been left neglected. Another tendency that the Pittsburgh Steelers had is when you have press coverage, Kenny Pickett would throw a go route to that receiver. And if you look at what the Cincinnati Bengals were trying to do on this first play, they were trying to bait Kenny Pickett into throwing a go route on the bottom of your screen to Deontay Johnson. They have him in press coverage, 2 safeties in the middle. The safety to the side of the field of Deontay Johnson is closer to the box, usually an indicator that safety is going to be defending any under routes or perhaps maybe even the tight end. Another tendency here is on the tight end Pat Freiermuth. Typically when the Pittsburgh Steelers have had a tight end running a route off of this formation or off of the end of the line, and the middle linebacker who they suspect to be covering the tight end is shading inside, the position of the tight end and the assumed leverage that he would have based on their position. This has been an out route, and I've said this on a few different plays throughout this year, but Pat Freiermuth ends up turning it up on a skinny post and getting wide open. This middle linebacker here who's covering Pat Freiermuth, he appears to be playing zone. He's going to make a slight move towards the sideline, and I think that's for one or two reasons. One, Najee Harris is coming out of the backfield. This defender needs to account for him. And two, I think that, like I mentioned before, the tendency is that Pat Freiermuth is going to cut it towards the sideline. Either way, that gives Pat Freiermuth that little opening to turn it up and get wide open. Here's a better view from behind it. And that's a dime. Can't get better throw than that. This is going to be another play towards Pat Freiermuth in the middle of the field again. And what makes this play is the threat of the deep route from George Pickens at the bottom of the screen. When the ball is snapped, he immediately starts running up the field, and that attracts his cornerback to drop back. It also attracts the safety who starts to drop back as well, leaving Pat Freiermuth wide open in the middle of the field. This is what I like to see. You see George Pickens there celebrating with Pat Freiermuth. George Pickens hasn't had a target yet up to this point. So he's a team first kind of guy, in my opinion. He's just a very passionate guy when it comes to his craft in the Steelers and his want to win. And from this angle, you can see how Kenny Pickett manipulated the safety on the left side of the field with his eyes, and how George Pickens manipulated the safety on the right side of the field with his speed and his ability, or his deep threat ability, leaving the middle wide open. This is the play that should have been a touchdown. I like the play call. I like the design of the play. I think that there are some aspects to this play that could have been better. I think the throw could have been better. I think the catch could have been cleaner, especially coming to the ground. And I think the coach should have challenged this play. And what I like about this route is Allen Robinson right there in the bunch formation. He's the middle receiver at the top. He's going to run straight towards the safety, and he's going to track the safety and his cornerback to that part of the field. And it's going to leave one-on-one with Deontay Johnson. And I like those odds. And like I said, I think if the pass is better, this is a touchdown. And if he keeps his, he doesn't drop it while he goes to the ground as well. Let me rewind that a little bit. Let's see, Allen Robinson he's running straight to that safety in the middle of the end zone right there. And over the top, you see that Deontay Johnson is in great position for this ball. Now, look at where the ball is placed. It's placed kind of on his back shoulder. Look at number 23 for the Bengals. He's around that E in the word Bengals. On the bottom half, he's close to the middle of the end zone, but on the bottom half of that end zone, if Kenny Pickett puts this up towards the back of the sideline a little bit more and leads Deontay Johnson towards the inside a little bit, this is an easy pitch and catch touchdown. but he throws it towards his back shoulder-ish, and it just makes it more difficult. You can see where the ball is there, and he's looking at it, and it's coming to his back shoulder. I just think that the ball should be a little bit more towards the back of the end zone and kind of leading him towards the center of the field. And this would make this play a lot easier. At the end of the day, it should have been a touchdown regardless. It could be just a little bit nitpicky, but throwing it that far behind the receiver, if the cornerback reads that a little bit better and doesn't get far off, and there could be a play to be made if you're throwing that far behind. But he'll do something like that where you just kind of, wonder how accurate is this guy? And then he goes and does something like this. This was the deep pass down the field to Deontay Johnson. Beautiful throw, a beautiful decision, great play call. You have everybody in the box there for the Cincinnati Bengals, one-on-one press coverage over the top. You have single safety in the middle of the field. You're going to see from the other angle that Kenny Pickett looks off the safety, and then he throws it to the right side, and it's just perfect. It's just perfect. Watch. So quick look to the right, a quick look to the left, back to the middle, and then ready to throw. Now let's talk about a couple of missed throws that Kenny Pickett had. This first one's going to be an accuracy issue. This one's going to be going over the middle of the field as well. I like the design of this play because of the tendencies up to this point. A lot of the balls have been going towards Pat Freiermuth. What the Pittsburgh Steelers do is they switch it up and they end up calling a route that goes to George Pickens. You're going to see both defenders go with Pat Freiermuth, leaving George Pickens wide open. That's just a bad throw by Pickett. And I think this might be one of the reasons why Matt Canada kind of lived in his fears when it comes to allowing Kenny Pickett to throw the ball over the middle of the field. There's been times where it's kind of sailed on him. And when the ball sails on you in the middle of the field, it can be very dangerous. If it sails on you on the sideline, it's going out of bounds. Sails on you in the middle of the field, it could be picked. So up until this point, all of the plays that we've been looking at that were successful have been the first read plays. There have been a few where he's looking off a safety, but he comes back, but that was where the play was designed to go. In my opinion, Kenny Pickett still struggles coming off of his first read to his second read, which is why I said at the top of the episode that this game was won because of the offensive coordinators and their ability to self-scout. Because in this situation, Kenny Pickett needs to come off of his first read. So here's the play design. You're going to have George Pickens run up and do a comeback. You're going to have Calvin Austin go about 8-10 yards and then cut across the field. From what I see, and in my opinion, what I'm thinking here is that the Pittsburgh Steelers are hoping that Calvin Austin's route is not only going to attract the defensive back that is guarding him, but also the safety. Given George Pickens' speed and over-the-top threat, I think the Steelers were banking on his defender dropping back, thus leaving him wide open. And instead, what ended up happening was this seemed to be more of a zone play. Let's watch it. George Pickens' defender is still facing George, so he's looking for anything underneath. If he comes back, curls, cuts, anything like that, he's prepared for that. He knows that he has safety help over the top. This should have gone from here. Kenny should have looked at the next receiver right next to him, which is Calvin Austin, who's coming wide open. Now, I know he's going to get a little bit of pressure behind him, but he has enough to double pump, double clutch, whatever you want to call it, before letting the ball go. I think he should have hit Calvin Austin over the middle. And I know some folks might say, hey, you're just nitpicky on that play. It's just one play where he didn't come off his read. I get it, but I really haven't seen any plays from Kenny Pickett in this game where the first read wasn't there and he successfully went to the second read without panicking, without leaving the pocket, without getting happy feet. I just think that might be something that he definitely needs to work on. But everything else, I think he's really coming along. I think he's made a lot of steps forward. I'm not trying to bash him or anything like that. I'm just being honest with what I'm seeing. If I see good things, I'm going to point out the good things. If I see bad things, I'm going to point out the bad things. So I really like this play. This one's going to be on third down. And what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing is they're going to be doing a little bit of a rub route. It works perfectly because of the defense are running. They're running a single safety high with man coverage. And what you're going to end up seeing is George Pickens is going to run basically through his cornerback or the defender on top of him and run two and try to get in front of the cornerback that is defending Pat Freiermuth, which he does. And Pickett just puts a dime on Pat Freiermuth on the outside for the first down. Check it out from this angle. I like this play as well. A great decision by Kenny Pickett. I think, I'm not sure if this is a play that's called. Maybe perhaps Kenny Pickett checks into when the play is called. There's no way of knowing the lineup of the Cincinnati Bengals if they're anticipating a blitz. I mean, you can kind of look at their tendencies as well and kind of predict some of those things, but there's really no way of knowing. So to me, I really do think that this was a check by Kenny Pickett to this play. We're going to have Deontay Johnson just come wide open behind the blitz. Ball could have been thrown a little bit better. It probably would have gone for a lot more, but it was a great decision. And if it was designed this way, I mean, great anticipation, great thought by the offensive coordinators, and great decision to call this play in this moment based on what they've been seeing. So I'm not sure who it's on, but it was a great decision and a great play. Now, this is going to be the last play. And what I wanted to highlight on this play is another thing that the Pittsburgh Steelers really hadn't been doing under Matt Canada that they were doing in this game, and that was take advantage of some mismatches. On this play here, you're going to have a couple of curl routes in the bottom of your screen, and you're going to have a slot fade route from George Pickens, who's being covered by Mike Hilton. That is a mismatch. The Pittsburgh Steelers should be taking advantage of this every single time they see something like this, where you have a shorter, slower cornerback, nickelback, a slot back type of cornerback on a premier wide receiver like George Pickens. You need to throw it up there and just give him the opportunity to go up and get the ball. His abilities should beat this route. Kenny Pickett sees it, takes advantage of it, and this is something we hadn't seen. So overall, I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers did really well in this game. Offensively, they held the time of possession over 400 yards total offense. Matt Canada leaving, does it fix everything? No, not at all. But what it does do is it allows this team to play to their advantages while working on their deficiencies. There's a lot of football left to play, and the schedule isn't that daunting. I think this team can get right at the last quarter of this season and maybe perhaps make some noise a little bit later. If you like this, please hit that like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. I have probably 2-3 more videos coming out this week breaking down more film. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.